You're not in. Hello? He doesn't have me laughing today.
Yes, I do. I had to do it after the fact. She tried to come in with a frown. See, that didn't even work.
Oh, we're so glad to see everyone. Hello, Dr. Linda.
Hey, Dr. Linda, good to see you.
Welcome everyone to H&D Abroad. I'm Dee. This is my lovely husband, Herman. We are today continuing the conversation of we've decided to move abroad. Now what? This is a follow-up conversation. We're going to be doing a few of these this year. So if you missed our previous conversation with the Andersons, where they were championing the country that I love, Spain, it will be in the description box. We talked about all the things that really bring you to a country, and how to navigate those questions individually and as a couple, because what we really talk about is that even though moving abroad is a plan A, you have so many options for doing that outside of being a citizen of another country. So if you are interested in seeing moving abroad as a plan A for generational wealth and living a healthier lifestyle, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so that you are alerted when we go live, like we do every Saturday at 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern.
In addition, ask that you join our communities. We have a whole set of links in the description that talk about all the things that we're jumping in and we're a part of. Jump into those things because we are a community-based page.
Absolutely.
Then I built this with the objective of sharing our personal experience, and in the process, we've met so many great people like all of you. And it's really grown our experience. And we hope that we are helping with these videos to share that experience out to everybody else. So we take a quick minute. Again, Dr. Linda, you are here first and foremost. We appreciate you. Black Women Build Wealth. Hey, Sam. Good to see you. Safe, savvy soldier. Tasha Dernis. Hey, Tosh. We just talked. We
have interviewed Tasha Dernis. Oh, yeah.
All of these ladies we have interviewed. Get in with their pages. Check them out. Hey, Aileen Brown.
Yeah. So, okay. It's one thing to decide to move abroad, but like when you put your desires into the universe and the universe says, bam, okay, that's what's on your heart, then let's just put this on a bobsled and put you in fast forward. Like, what are you going to do? That would be scary to me.
Last time we talked to the Andersons, they were in planning mode. They were in anticipation mode. And then their world turned upside down. So let's bring them right in.
Yeah.
Because it's time to see where they are today. What's going on, Nick? Hey, Dave. How y'all doing?
Hey, we're good. How you guys doing?
Hey, it's good to be here.
One day at a time, living life at its best.
There you go.
So this is what happened. I'm texting Nikki. We're talking about Spain. We're living our dreams and putting our dreams together for this. We're talking about decluttering. I'm on a plane. I get off the plane. Nikki says, call me. I'm waiting on Herman to pick me up from the airport. And she says, see what had happened was. So if you want to give a little bit of background about what you did in the States and then how this opportunity aligned itself with you.
Okay, sure. Well, I want to introduce myself again. I'm Nikki Anderson, and that's my husband, David Anderson. And our YouTube channel is It's a Wonderful Travel Life. And we document our travels all over the world and, just share with you the things that we're doing. However, at the same time, in the midst of us documenting our travels, we had already, had planned to move abroad permanently somewhere. So we had been doing country shopping, right? We can call it that.
Good.
And we had went to Spain this past April and May of 2023, and just fell in love with it. Fell in love with Spain. We really did. And we decided after we got back from Spain that Spain was the place that we wanted to be, that we wanted to live there. That's how impressed we were with Spain, and we had loved, just fell in love with it. And we had been to several different countries and we're considering other countries, but Spain just kind of captured our hearts. In the States, we live in Illinois, and I worked at the university teaching at an elementary lab school within the university, but I also taught adults online in early childhood. So I'm teaching adults online at night and children during the day. So I was a teacher / professor at the same time. And so we had decided Spain was where we were going. Our hearts were set on Spain. So we began to put things in motion for Spain. Even start learning Spanish, taking Spanish courses and all that. And we started that immediately when we got back. So I would say in May, we started that process and doing, researching the NALCAP program. I was deep into the NALCAP program because I knew that was the program I thought I was going to go with. And I'd researched several other programs, and Dee and we had talked about different programs, and they were all geared towards Spain. And I had not considered any other country to teach in. We considered other countries to live in, but I didn't consider any other country to teach in other than Spain. And let's fast forward to October. And I see, it was a Sunday night. I see online, I'm part of several international teacher groups. And I see online that there's, at this one particular school in Mexico, there's a position for an elementary teacher. And I thought, I could apply for that. And I applied for it on a Sunday night. And I told my husband, hey, I'm going to apply for this. I just sent my resume. By Monday morning, there was in my email, there was a message requesting to interview me. And I thought, okay, well, I'm a little worried about this, but okay. I told my husband, I said, they want to interview me. And he was like, you're going to get the job.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to interview. So we set up the interview for Wednesday, and then had the virtual interview on Wednesday. And by Thursday, they had officially offered me the job to teach in Mexico, Mazatlan, Mexico.
Wow.
Fast it went. Yeah.
Well, okay. So the other part of this is you all had been watching our channel. You had been watching other channels.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And David's superpower is, he was like, guess what I found? There's a direct flight from my city to Mazatlan. Guess what I found? I mean, this is all just, they're finding channels, they're joining communities, because y'all know that's really the secret sauce of moving abroad is that community. So David, I mean, like, as you're inquiring about this new place and a job opportunity comes available, like, are you taken, do you feel off track, or this is just on track?
No, this is definitely on track. Nikki and our lives before we met were on a collision course either way. I had already planned I was going to retire out of the country. I was not going to stay here. And so when I met her, she said she wanted to travel the world. And I said, okay, well, we can do that. So when we start looking, we've been looking at a lot of places, and Spain was a more became like a real thing we could do. We really love the place. We love the people, the pace that they live. And so it really became a opportunity we wanted to pursue. So when we came back, and we tend to move around a lot, so hardly ever any time to catch your breath. You just see what's on the plate today. So she's told me about this interview, and when they sent her the email the next day, I said, here we go again. My policy with Nikki is wherever she is, that's my home.
Come on now.
Just tell me where you want to go, and I'm going to do it. You need to get there and make it comfortable as possible. Handle logistics, and yeah. And this little girl is brave. I mean, she's really brave. There's hardly anything that phases her. So all on board. And I had read about Mazatlan as a youth, about the history and the beauty and all that. So I had that in my mind, and she asked me, had I heard of Mazatlan? I said, yes. And we start looking around. And of course, the minute you say that she wants to do something, she's interested in do something, I start doing things. Sometimes she says, stop, hey, stop. I didn't say do that yet. I'll just rush ahead and start putting information and just giving it to her. So when she said this, I got excited about it. So I started looking at everything it would take to get there, and the currency exchange, and the cost of living and housing and all that. I said, this is really looking good. Yeah. So it's a whirlwind thing, but we are good at sticking and jabbing. We were light on our feet. So we make our adjustments. Right now, she's in Mazatlan, and I'm back in Illinois, pretty much tying up all our loose ends, selling the house and getting the kids through the rest of the school year. So we're tag teaming as we go. She's coming back, and if not soon enough, but I miss her because her kids are so agreeable and obedient that they're getting on my nerves. But yeah, we kind of divide and conquer, hit things at either end. I'm really proud of her because she hit the ground running. She just walks out of the gated community and finds a taxi for some reason. When there are no taxis around, she finds a taxi. I'm talking to her on the phone. She's trying to get from A to B. She's really hammering her Spanish. She's smashing it. She's doing really good. So she's negotiating all the curves and twists of relocation quite well. So I'm proud of her.
One of the things that I've gotten to know about David, and I'm prefacing it with this because is that he is both. If you're listening to him, he's both laid back and moving forward at the same time. He has that. What's happening, as he says, he sees it, he knows it, that's a plan, but his demeanor is so and I'm going to challenge that a little bit. And the reason I'm saying that is because the city in which we live, we had the similar circumstances in moving. We were looking for work. Dee had been getting several job offers and whatnot, and this came out of nowhere. I think you said you never even applied for this job, or she had randomly applied for it.
Just
and so it was, hey, we'd like to interview you. One of our children was out of town. We packed up the other two. We drove the hour and a half to where the interview was. The boys and I sat outside while she went inside and interviewed. She came back in the car. She said it was a good interview. We drove home. The next day they called and said, hey, we'd like you to fly out to our corporate office. I mean, and within a month, we had relocated. When our oldest child came home, we were packing the house. I mean, so I recognize the all of a sudden that this causes. There's no words for it. It's that. Yeah. How are you all dealing with that? Because I mean, I know we're talking to you you've had a chance to settle, you've had a chance, but that moment of, oh my God, things just changed and now we got to flip it out. How did you adjust to that? What's the word for that? That sudden stress level of
it's a pivot.
Everything that we were planning to do has just changed. Everything we were thinking about. The
location has changed. The timeline has changed. You go from, okay, for me, I literally, y'all, on my wall Post-it notes, I have I have 2 weeks to clear out the kitchen, 3 weeks to clear the garage. I'm that kind of methodical person,
Yeah.
and it helps me to feel productive and on keeping on schedule. When
Yeah.
you go from it's October and I got to be somewhere in
Jan-
weeks
uh-huh.
instead of I've got, 6 or more months,
Yes.
what kind of if you were going to say what were your top 3 things that were what was your top thing that was your North Star, or top 3 things that were your North Star to make sure you all work together, your families together, that helped you to feel confident in making, not that I could do the move, but making the move really in sync?
Yes. I'll start off. Well, first thing, we had to talk about it. He and I, once they offered the position to me, he and I had to literally sit down and just start talking about this and talking about the possibilities of, what this entails, because we had from October to my report date, which was January 8th, I had to be in the classroom January 8th. So it's a very short window. Could we pull it off? Yes, we could pull it off. But we had children to consider who were still in school. We had my current good paying job to consider. We had the other adult children that we have to talk to. So what we ended up doing was we talked about it first. And I started to question myself, like, okay, do I really want to do this? I know this is what I prayed for. I asked God to, wherever he sends me, that's where I'll go.
Hmm.
And it happened. So, and I said that to David. I said, I know this is God answering my prayer. It doesn't feel like what I envisioned it was going to be, but I know this is my answer. And when we both realized that this is exactly what we had prayed for, David said, we have to move. We have to do this. He said, this is the opportunity to step in. Just do it. He says, we can make it work. We can, it's not going to be easy, but we can make it work. So when I realized, okay, I should do this, David is on board. He feels the exact same way I do. Then we begin to talk to the children, the ones that are still living with us. So we talked to them about it and asked what their thoughts were, because they were, mind you, they were excited about going to Spain because we had already had the talk with them about Spain. They were all set and excited about that. So now it changes to Mexico. Well, they didn't know much about Mexico, so we started showing them YouTube videos and started had them do their own research and get an idea of what Mexico is and what it looks like, and specifically Mazatlan, since that's where we are. And then they were okay with it. My youngest daughter was okay with it. We'll have to talk about her later. But they were okay with it. And then they thought when we started telling them it's much closer to home too, because Spain was a little bit further away, but Mexico is not as far away. For the adult kids, we can get back quicker to you and things like that. So the adults, they saw the big picture. They were like, yes, let's do it. The youngers, they weren't quite sure. They're on board now, but at the time they weren't quite sure because they just didn't know enough. They didn't have enough information. So once we said, okay, this is what we're going to do. Well, now we had to speed up the process of selling, getting the house on the market, getting the house ready, getting the house on the market. We have 2 houses that we have to prepare, one for sale and one to just move out of because we're renting that one. And then we have the logistics. I'm going to let you pick up here, babe, after I talk about Minty, but we also have the logistics of getting a big dog here to Mexico. So, where we had the time to plan that out. That's another thing. We don't really have the time, because the time frame now, I'm here full time, but the family comes in May full time. So they still have some time to finish getting things done there. David comes back and forth here. I go back and forth there. But the deadline where everybody's going to be here is in May. So you can pick up from there, babe.
One of the beautiful things that show that this was something that had to happen was, imagine the logistics of moving to Murcia, Spain. You have transatlantic shipping. You got to ship a house. You got to ship a dog. You got to get all this paperwork. Well, we had lined up everything we had to do that. And then we get the opportunity to do it to a place you can really walk to. I mean, people do it. So now it's easier. Everything got scaled down. So I didn't really have to do, so you understand? Yeah, you get it.
I was about to say, because one of the things I didn't realize that you all had a large dog. And that is one of the questions that comes up repeatedly in the Spain group is, you know, if I have a small dog, that is, you know, they can be in the cabin to a certain size, but with a larger dog, you really, I mean, it's some hoops.
It is.
That you have to navigate, and so the shorter, yes, there is a shorter timeline, but it seems like you all were able to get to some solutions easier because you had already been doing this planning, and then additional doors could be open.
Yes.
So go ahead, Nikki.
Oh, no, I didn't, you know, I don't want to make this sound like this was easy by any means. This was, I would say, one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life because of the short turnaround time. You know, we didn't have a lot of time. And my husband and I have never been away from each other.
That's where I was getting to.
A day. And this, you know, it's a challenge for me because I didn't realize just how dependent upon my husband I was, and vice versa. You know, we're together all the time, you know. So that's been a little hard for me to get used to. And I've never in my life lived alone, ever. When I came into this world, there was lots of people already in my household. So this is my first time being semi alone. And so that was challenging. And then, you know, getting the paperwork together, you know, we had to schedule the appointments to go to the consulate in Chicago. And that was a stressful process. You know, it got to be so stressful in that aspect that, you know, I started having panic attacks because I'm just like, okay, this is going to happen. I have a job, but I have to, you know, I have to get A, B, C, D, and E done before I can get there, you know? And those little tedious things that's not hard to do, but yet they have to be done in order to get there. Those things stressed me out a little bit. David was right there supporting and picking up the slack every step of the way, because if I'm stressed out, he's stressed out, you know? So we tag teamed it. We got it done, and we're still getting it done.
Yeah.
And that leads to my thinking part is, as husbands in relationships where we have strong, independent, capable wives, there are still spaces in which we say, this is my responsibility to do. This is my covering to be responsible for. How did you / are you, David, adjusting to that? You're slightly outside the safety box, the comfort box of that. How are you managing that, and how are you translating that confidence or working towards that building with Nikki?
One thing is it is hard to adjust to not being able to take care of her directly, and I've become so accustomed to it. I have a lot of time on my hands, but we have a lot to do too. Nikki is a handful when it comes to safety margins. And I think this might be a universal thing where she looks at safety differently than I do.
Correct.
And so she says, I'm going to walk out of the gate and walk down the street.
Come on now. Come on now.
And I'm like,
I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know what he's talking about.
I'm just gonna rest my hand up here on my shoulder. Come on now.
I'm gonna walk past the guards, and there's a process for getting out of our community. You go through the gatehouse, you hit a button, and then you go out. And now you're there. You're in it. You're in the mix. So she takes her little self out that little gate. Now she's got me on FaceTime the whole time. So I get to see her murder. So,
Oh,
so she's walking, she's telling me what she sees, and I'm getting more encouraged by what she says, and plus her expression. She's really enjoying the experience. And she says, I need a taxi, but I don't see any. And she had got no words out of her mouth. And she goes, hey, this guy's honking at me. He said, it's a taxi. And she just jumps in the taxi. Before that's even out of her mouth, she's in a taxi. And she's going where she needs to go. And then she gets back from where she went, and she's happy in the house. So I had to get used.
Your anxiety level.
Yeah, I had hair when that call started. So
that's our calling. That is our calling.
Yeah.
We are called to push your comfort zones.
No, you're called to push our hairlines. That's what that is. Our hairlines and our eyesight. Yeah.
I have to always remember how capable Nikki is, and this has been something I think she's been forced on her all her life. She's little, and she's this cute little dolly girl, and everybody underestimates the fight. She's a big dog. I always tell you, you're a big dog, just a little body, but you're a big dog. She's not afraid. This has been exciting, watching her spread her wings, and we spent 10 days together there, and we got around very well. We went out to a village and did some community work and all the stuff we just really dreamed of doing. And we got into a community now, and the expats who look like us, they just swarmed us. I mean, anything you need, to the point where you're having like, okay, well, we don't need anything right now, everybody. They're really so giving and open and transparent. Hooked us with local contacts on the ground. So I left Nikki in good hands. That's one thing I feel with our group. I left her in good hands.
I realize as husbands that we have to as husbands, we have to look at things the same way we expect our wives to look at as mothers. We say to our wives as mothers, they need this, these kids, they need this time alone. They need to struggle through that. They need to, and we find ourselves in the protective mode. On one hand, we're super proud of, these stronger than us people that we're married to. Yeah. We know that already. But at the same time, their liberty at life, there's always the fear of them being in danger. When Dee spent a year in the Virginia, Maryland area, I came up, like you said, it was 10 days. I came up, we got the apartment set. It's in this little neighborhood. There's people hanging around outside. This is her first time away from home. And I'm just like, and she's going to walk out here and try to go shopping in the middle of the night. She's going to drive out here and try to get on this train without looking. She's going to be on up, there's all these that I didn't even attribute to my children. You know what I'm saying? Because you expect your children to be naive, and you're purposefully kind of pushing them out of the nest. When you have a grown person and you say, I've been the gap here for them. And this is mine to do, and now this is taken away from me. You begin to recognize, oh, that's what they're dealing with as mothers. That's what they're expressing as mothers. Okay, this is mine to take care of, and now this responsibility is no longer mine. This is solely yours, and there's nothing I can do to fix it. Because even if I want to, I'm 1,000 miles away. I can't turn around and fix it.
I put Tasha's question up because there's one thing to deal and work through my own fears and my own, the things that trigger me. And I know as a mother that I have to identify and address them, but I'm also knowing that my children are watching me and that the relationship that I have with them is going to evolve. And there is that change. It needs to happen. It's going to be overall good, but that initial pull. So we were checking in, and I was asking, hey, how are things going? And you told me about what happened pretty much the last week before you left. Did you want to talk through that relationship through pushing through the fears and addressing triggers?
Yeah. So I was talking about the panic attack that I had, and these are emotions that I hadn't felt in probably since I was a teenager, because I'm pretty good managing my emotions and feelings. But when we went up to the consulate the first time, I believe it was, because we had to go back twice. And I'm sitting in the office, and then just out of nowhere, I just, they're telling me, "Oh, you need this form and you don't have it." So I'm texting the people here, my supervisor and all of them. I'm like, "Hey, I need this form and I don't have it." They say that I need it. I'm here. I don't need to. I don't want to make another trip up here. Can you get me these forms? So they're working on it. They're like, "Okay, we'll get it. We'll send it to them." During this time when I'm waiting, I'm getting frustrated on the inside, not showing it on the outside, but I'm getting frustrated on the inside. Also, kind of emotional, because I'm like, okay, this is a lot of work. This is too much, and I'm rushing, trying to get this done before January 4th was our date that we were flying out, and this was December 27th when we're doing up at the consulate.
2 days before her birthday.
Yeah, yeah. And so I'm stressed out, and so I'm sitting at the desk. Finally, I get in the office, and I'm sitting at the lady's desk, and she's telling me, "Okay, we have this." I see my hands. I look down at my hands, and I am just like really, really just shaking. And I just knew, I'm like, "Oh goodness, this is crazy," because I feel my heart racing, I felt my hands shaking, and I recognized that as a panic attack that I'm having, because I've had it as a teenager. But I was able to keep myself together, not fall apart, of course, and go on through that process. It helps having somebody to lean on, because I'm texting. David's outside waiting for me. I'm texting him. I said, "Now they don't have this, or they don't have that, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this." And so we're just texting, but having that support system. At the time, he was just the only support system that I had in this process. And so thank God that worked out. Got everything we needed that day, and was able to get my residency and all that stuff. So let's fast forward to the week, the last few days before we have to go. I'm preparing the girls. My daughters are 15 and 17, and we're preparing them. And I'm talking to the girls, and I'm kind of feeling them out, trying to ask, "Okay, how are you? How are you really feeling? I'm leaving in a couple days. Is there anything you're feeling on the inside that you want to talk about?" And both of them were just like, "Well, it's going to be weird without you here, and we're going to miss you." And so they're telling me how they feel, but I don't see any sadness where they looked like they were going to cry, but they were sad, but not visibly sad. And so they asked a lot of questions, and I reassured them that I'm just a FaceTime away. We're going to FaceTime every day, continue to talk, text, everything every day. And the only change is I'm going to be physically out of the home, but I'm still going to be mothering you all the way from Mexico. So the day that it was time for us to depart, we were giving our hugs goodbye, and I'm sorry, my daughters were leaving. They were going to their biological dad's house, and it was time for them to leave. And they were giving me hugs, so we're hugging. The youngest daughter, just out of nowhere, just breaks down, and she's just holding on to me and crying, sobbing extremely hard. And I've never even witnessed her cry like that before. But she turned into almost like a 6-year-old all over again. And she's just crying and saying, "Mommy, Mommy." And it just kind of hurt my heart to experience that and see that. And he was sitting over on the side, and he's like, "Well, no, what's going on?" We're all crying at this point. So he comes in, and we're all doing a group hug, and we're trying to calm her down and talk to her. And I walk her out to the car, and I explain to her father my ex-husband. I explained to her father why she's crying and all this. And we all talk, and she gets herself under control, and she's able to stop crying and talk, After that, I, monitor her the whole time she was traveling to where she was going. And then when they got there, we FaceTime again. And so it was really difficult. That made me almost change my mind in that moment, because I thought to myself, am I being selfish? Is this too much for her? I'd rather she be okay. I'd rather my daughter be okay than to pick up. Then we do this, because we can always do this later. But it worked out, and I felt comfortable. And she reassured me later that, Mom, it's okay. I want you to do this. We want you to do this, and we want to be with you. So that was very tough. That was very hard. And, ever since then, though, they've been okay. So now they're just back to their teenage girls. And David's holding it down for me at home. And yeah, we're back to semi-normal again.
Yeah. It's hard.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The thing about Nikki, when you talk about pushing through panic and fear, in the situations she finds herself in, and I'm not there to fight the dragon, she's got to do it herself. She said, who else is going to do it? There's nobody here to do it. She just says that, and she starts walking forward, which scares me to death. But she's not a quitter, and she is not easily dissuaded from things that she puts in her mind to do. I have learned this about her, and I accept it. I embrace it, because she drags me along with her.
Hey.
Yeah. And so the benefit of, she faces her fears. She has one. She's not going to deny that she has panic and she has fears, but she never stops her from going out the door to do what she needs to do. Ever.
And that's one of the things that I love about the boss here. And one of the things, kind of the reverse of my question earlier, is now, David, you have to be responsible for things that were once her responsibility.
Yeah.
You now have to be in the space that where she says, do this. And you and I kind of talked about it. It's kind of the, before she was like, don't forget to do this, don't do that. Now she just has the trust that you are taking care of whatever it is you're taking care of. We fall into these, what is my responsibility to do, or what is my responsibility to tell you to do kind of dynamics as couples. I tease young couples, new parents, but they've neither of them have been parents. They both have this child for the first time. And a lot of times the mother is telling the new father how to raise the kid. And I'm going, you both are new at this. Right. What's the new dynamic? Right. You all are in a new dynamic. You are now, to phrase it intentionally like this, raising her children. You are responsible for her babies without her being there. You are responsible for, does this need to pack? Does this need to go? Making the decisions that she can only comment on. How are you all balancing that dynamic? Because when you have to shift the dynamic of what I feel responsible for, or what I have to claim territory on, let's call it unconsciously what it often is, and that has the shift. How do you make that work in a relationship?
I'm going to have David answer that. And then Nikki, you know what I'm coming around to, because the other half of this is we have to trust. So David?
Nikki coached me from day one on interacting with her household. And I'm going to tell you this. I came in, I was going to enforce my household on her household. And by the end of the day, the couch was on fire, the dogs were missing, and the just were dead. So she tells me, if you want them to do something, just ask them, and they'll do it. If they don't get something the first time, say it again. But don't be so. I'm very militant. Come from a very kind of military family, or everybody 7 kids had to have order. So I was accustomed to that. Well, we always had to come to dinner at 5 and sit at the table. I cooked dinner and everybody's just running around and the food disappears somehow. At her house, everybody eats when they're hungry, and I wanted to have a sit down. We tried that for a while, but it was pushing a square peg into a round hole. It just didn't work. And so I just cook and the food disappears. And I kind of got into the rhythm of doing that. everybody likes different things. So I make sure everything that they like is there, and they would eat the way. So back to the question, because I always get off track. Nikki has established a very well-run household, very respectable children. If they have a problem with what you ask them, they will still do what you ask them, and then talk about why you can say if they don't like it, well, why don't you like that? And they'll say why, and we work around it. Nikki's already given marching orders. She says to the girls, she goes, he's me. When I'm gone, when he's telling you something, I'm telling you something. So she's established that respect toward me, that I get the same respect she does. And so I go into the end. They have learned to trust me. If they're having a problem with something, they'll tell me, and then we'll get on the phone with mommy and solve it, because I have no idea. So, but Nikki really has cultivated a very warm household, a very cohesive household. So it was easy in this case to come in and do what she needs to do and get the kids to school and pick them up and go to their functions and just being Mr. Mom. And plus, this is my second rodeo, because I had girls. So yeah, my girls are 20, 27 and 32, something like that. I don't know, but I don't do that stuff.
They're grown.
A great job at raising them, so it was really no problem. I think anybody could have walked into this and managed these children. There, yeah, we're blessed by that. She did a good job.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, Nikki and I, when we were talking, and this part is, I trust you to carry on the things that are important, is making space. Would we, if we hadn't been in this move abroad process, would we have made this space available for support with the people around us? So we're talking about their unique family dynamic, inviting your dad into this new space of support. I mean, and really calling on people to step in where normally you would have just filled in those gaps. What has that part been like?
Well, it's been strange, because one of the people we've had to pull in is the ex-husband. The ex-husband is involved. We had to, of course, he had to okay the girls being able to come. He had to give consent for that. He gave consent with no problem. He knows that that we're in two different households for the most part. And now, guess who wants to come to Mexico? Guess who's planning on coming to Mexico?
Wow.
But it's for the good of the youngest child. It's her life as normal as we can. So he wants to come, instead of having her come to the States to visit him, he wants to come here to be with her and keep it, as normal. And I thought that was pretty nice of him. But he also, not in just me trusting David, he also trusts David. And he has to have trust for David to watch over the girls, even in his absence, because David is with the girls full time, and their dad is with them part time. So it's three of us working this strange dynamic for the good of the girls until we are all back together again. He's with us as far as, this is not the ideal situation, but it's temporary. It's very temporary, and we're working towards the goal of being back together again. I have to preface this with, David has been in the girls' lives for 10 years. So when we met, the youngest was 5. So they grew up with David. They've been knowing David for some years. So it's easy for them to feel comfortable with him in my absence, because they've spent a lot of time with him in 10 years. And so they trust him, sometimes more so than their biological dad, because he's been there for them more so than the biological dad. And I trust that, David is going to get the kids to school, get them fed. If they need anything that, of course, I can't do, he's going to take care of it. And he's been handling it. He really has. So that I don't even have to worry about. I mean, that is a stress that's not even on my plate. I don't have to add that stress to my plate because I know David has got it. And he does. He takes care of it.
There's that rub, before you leave. And then everybody, it just feels like in a lot of our stories, we're doing this build up, and happily ever after is you all get on the plane, you fly into, the utopia, the Wakanda of the move abroad experience. But baby, life is lifing on one side of the border, and life was lifing on the other side simultaneously. I mean, I wish it was, just a few days. David goes to the doctor. Bam, we got an issue. Nikki looks up and, babe, what is this on my wall? I mean, like,
there's that. I forgot about that.
And so there's you set a plan in motion, and then it's like the ping pong balls. I mean, they're things are just, they're gonna go on. What is your center as you have faced these new things when you are apart? Because again, even if we were together, it would still make me. Housing is the biggest expense wherever you go. And when your housing goes like sideways to a health, potential health crisis, I'm just like, am I supposed to be doing this? Have you had opportunities where it would have been like, I don't know if this was the right deal for us?
So I do want to talk about the housing issue. So what happened when we first got here? We found a place. Before we got here, we were working with a realtor. They found us a lovely home, but the home was on a, what do you call that? Is it
marina.
A lake? It's on the marina.
On the marina, on the water.
Right there on the marina.
On the water.
And right on the water, beautiful scenery, but it was really busy, really loud. People coming in and out, even though it was a gated community, but there was a restaurant like right next door. So people could come into the restaurant. That was all fine. We were going to make that work. Got used to the noise. If I needed to put on headphones, I would do that. But then after being there for 2.5 weeks, I literally woke up one Friday morning and I was sick the week before, and I had been getting worse gradually and didn't know why I was getting sick. And, I'm a severe asthmatic, so I'm using my albuterol, my breathing treatments, my inhalers. I'm using all of that more and more and more. And then ended up having to pop out the prednisone, the steroids. So I knew I was sick, but I didn't know why. I just figured, well, maybe it's just my immune system getting used to Mexico. And plus my students, they were coughing and sneezing at the time, but nobody was like really sick. And I felt like I was just getting sicker and sicker and sicker. So one Friday morning, I woke up and I'm sitting at the end of the bed, getting ready to get up for work. And I'm looking at the foot of the bed at the wall right in front of me. And on the wall, it appeared to be this dark shadow that went from one end of the wall all the way to the other end. And I'm like, what is that? So I get closer and I see, and I had a suitcase in front of the wall, and it's all on my suitcase. And I was like, that's mold. That is mold. So of course I did a video and took pictures. Then I FaceTime David. I said, look at this. And I showed him. He's like, that is mold. I said, I believe that's what's been making me sick. And I didn't know it. So I, got in touch with the landlord. She immediately sent somebody out, which the somebody was her brother and her father, and her brother had built that unit. Her brother's name is Jesus, by the way.
Jesus help.
Okay, call Jesus, call Jesus.
Call him.
So Jesus comes and he's showing Jesus is showing me. He told me, he said, I built this unit. He says, and it's a problem with the mold next door. Your unit shares the same wall as the next unit. He says, that next door is full of mold. Let me show you. Jesus shows me a bunch of pictures on his phone of the home next door, all black, just completely abandoned, by the way, because of the mold. They abandoned it. And so he says, we can fix this, but it's just going to keep coming back. I said, you've said
But
enough.
not me. It may keep coming back, but I'm not.
Right.
I'm
No,
I
no,
told
she's out.
Jesus, I'm out. So I told the landlord that day what Jesus had said.
Is he a carpenter? Yeah, he was. He was actually a carpenter. Yeah.
Jesus was a carpenter. I said, Jesus has spoken.
Yes.
Out. I got to move out. I said, I will be gone at the end of the week. I have to break my lease. So she asked, what could we do to make you stay? And I said, nothing. My health is more important than staying, and I have to go, you know. And she said she understood, and she said okay. So in the meantime, I'm networking with people in the groups, in the Black and Mazatlan group and the other groups that Mazatlan groups I'm in. And we managed to find a realtor that found this place. And he asked me, hey, can you come tomorrow and look at it? I said, yeah. Came over, we looked at the place. I toured it. I loved the neighborhood because it's a brand new development, and fell in love with the house on the outside. Came in and said, okay, this is nice too. I think we can do this. And the price range was even better too. It was cheaper than what we were paying at the other home. So long story short, I ended up moving here a week ago today. So I've been here in this place a week today. And my health has improved and significantly. It's gotten better. I'm done with the albuterol, the inhalers, the nebs, and all that. I haven't had to take any in a few days. So I can tell I'm getting a lot better. But just navigating that by myself, it's been a headache too, because all while I'm dealing with this, like you said, David had an injury to his shoulder that he did while he was here in Mexico. And he's going to the doctors and dealing with that, and had to do physical therapy. So we've been dealing with a lot, but never once did I think, no, I shouldn't have done this. No, I still feel strongly that God did things his way and the way he wanted to do it. And even though I shared my plans with God, he thought that was cute. And he was like, no, okay, that's just
closer to her job too. She's actually closer.
Yeah, and she's closer. She's closer to her school. I mean, it's just
you when you live in a for lack of a better word, but it may not be the best choice of word, when you have a codependent relationship, you mentally divide the drama, the trauma, the problems between you. You see them as a unit.
That's right.
When you have those same problems and all of a sudden you are in some independent space of each other, they seem to jump on you a whole lot different, because it's like, okay, now I have to figure this out, and I have to manage this without my partner being right here to, whatever. When a few years ago, I had what amounted to a mild stroke, and I was driving home. I drove home. I thought everything was fine. I didn't realize that's what it was. And I think about the things that Dee did to get me to the hospital. I mean, it was just a matter of getting in the car. She drove me to the hospital, everything, and I would have probably not have thought to call the doctor to say, I'm having these problems. I don't know what's going on. Or here's an issue. And things could have been much worse. And the number of people who've made these transitions, Aging Grateful is here with us, and they had a medical crisis separate from each other when they first, got to town. And, those things, when you have someone with whom you can depend on, it also helps you to be strong when you are making independent moves.
Yes, it does.
Because you still relate in your head, how does this tie in with what will we be doing now? What would my partner help me do, say, manage, and you can still, when you can, call and say, let me share this concept with you, share this thought with you. that's a moment to pay full respect to people who do not have regular support systems.
And why you need to build it in before you leave.
And we're not just talking about spouses. We're just talking about a general line of collaboration and communication with someone whom you can say, I need help. Dee recently lost a family member, and there were people who were saying, we speak all the time. I have not spoken to them in such and such amount of time. I'm sending somebody on to check them. When you have people with whom you can have a source of backup communication, who know, okay, I'm looking in our regular social media feed. I haven't seen Billy. I've been texting and I haven't heard from Mary. When you have those people in your life, it helps you, even when you decide to not call them, to make decisions because you have them in mind. You have their support in mind. Okay, I'm taking a risk tonight to do so and so and so. Dee might be busting at me because I'm making this walk. Let me text her and say, hey, I'm going to be so and so. I tell her, make whatever decisions you're going to make, do whatever you're going to do, go where you're going to go. If you're going to make those choices, and I'm not a part of that process, let me know where you are. Send me an address. When she goes out of town, what's the address to when she did her first 2 house stays? What's the address to where you are staying? There was no way I was going to be able to jump in the car, jump on a plane fast enough to get to where she was if there were an emergency. But if I needed to send somebody there, I had the necessary information to say, go to and check on my girl because this is a thing. And those lines of communication are important for us as social beings. And I just wanted to throw that in there because I think that a part of the success that you all are having and a part of success of people I've known in this state, in this point, have been that level of connection and communication with someone who is your support system.
Yeah. And we are in, support systems. We got a couple of groups here, but we've kind of gotten really close to a few people in the Black and Mazatlan. And they've stepped up and helped me out a lot because they all know that they know our schedule, David and my schedule, and when he's here, when he's not. So when he's not, they are making sure they are checking on me. There's a couple of the sisters that have come and got me. I think I told you about how we were dealing with I'm locked in the community,
the key situation. Yeah.
To get out. So I had to give my the access key to one of the group members, and I trust her. And so she can get in. David and I said, we need somebody else on the outside to have one of these access keys. So if something happens to me, at least somebody else can get inside if I'm incapacitated. And so they've stepped up to take me grocery shopping, to wherever I needed to go. They have been here for me. They helped me move because David, couldn't do it. I couldn't do it all by myself. They stepped up, made sure they came over there, moved me, got me in the house. So I couldn't have done this without a community. I wouldn't have wanted to do it without a community because they are now our family, and we established this before we moved here. I got in the boxes or on Facebook and said, hey, we're going to be coming to Mazatlan on this day. We'd love to meet up. And they had a welcoming party for us, and that, so I remember hearing on your YouTube shows many times before we even came about the importance of community and establishing a community before you leave. And we had done that. But now that I'm in it, I see the importance. We can't even speak about it enough because you just don't know what is going to happen once you get here. And so many things do happen here in Mexico that you're not prepared for. You need to have community. Whether you're with a couple or you're by yourself. You still need to have community here to help you out.
One thing that Aging Grateful has said on their channel that has also made me consider what community looks like is I tend to look for those Black in, brothers and sisters of.
Yes, that's right.
But you got to have you some local friends, some folk that are fluent in the language, who know you, who
Right.
will look out for you. And, you know, that's your cab drivers. That could be, you know, your driver. That could be, you know, somebody at the school, you know,
Yeah.
people that are a part of the local community, because natural disasters will happen.
Mhm.
Issues will happen, and you need somebody who's knowledgeable about the space that you're in. And so being intentional about growing that community, I was so glad that they, you know, in watching their channel, have said, okay, so what's my strategy for getting to know people with my limited preschool level
Right. That's right.
like Spanish
That's
skills.
And one thing about the community here, that the Black community in Mazatlan that I really love, is when we get together, we are with the Mexicans. It's the Mexicans and Blacks together.
Mhm.
And I mean, I haven't been to any event of the Blacks in Mazatlan that the Mexicans weren't part of it. And so we're building relationships with the Mexicans. And so I have several Mexican friends now. And we called one yesterday, one of our friends, because I needed to put him on the phone. I literally had him on one phone. I had the other phone on speaker so that he could talk to the people at the admin office for me and translate, you know, and he was able to tell me what it was that they were saying. I have one of my friends has suggested what do you call it? A housekeeper.
Mhm.
I need a housekeeper to help me get the house up and going and get it ready for the family. Again, all locals, the natives here, and I agree with you. I think that once you come into a community in a new country, you should get to know the locals. You should get to live like the locals, you know, and definitely learn the language.
Mhm.
I challenge. We were on a three-way call just this morning, myself, David, and the guy's name is Luis. And I told Luis, I said, this time next year, you and I will be having a conversation in Spanish, because I will be a little bit more fluent in Spanish. But we'll have a conversation all in Spanish. He said, all right. He said, I'm going to hold you to that. So, yeah, it's important to have the locals with you too.
Mhm.
You know, being willing and open to change. Y'all, we are 50 and over,
Hey.
okay? And welcoming change at this part of our lives, when probably most of our friends are leaning into, if it's not familiar or comfortable, or I have built this familiar, comfortable space. And so why would I push myself?
Mhm.
Nikki and I have talked about how, look, I have so much more growing to do. It's showing me so much more about myself than
Yeah.
than I've learned in 50 plus years. Like, there's
Yeah.
still things to learn about myself. Herman and David were on earlier this week, and the men were talking about growing and continuing to intentionally grow and connect as men in midlife. You
Yeah.
know, we this process isn't just for the 20 somethings,
Mm.
you know, pressing into new spaces in new ways, with new people in new places, and challenging our concept of who we are and who we are in the world.
Mhm.
Y'all, that's what this process is giving to
Yes.
me. If it's nothing but for the mental health aspect of
Mhm.
turning on some new nerve cells, some new brain neurons, creating some new brain connections.
Mhm.
That's what do you call it? Neuroplasticity.
That's just it,
There you
yes.
go. Yeah.
That's what the move abroad process is. It's
Yeah.
that intentional neuroplasticity that a lot of us need to be intentional about, as at every age, but especially at the ages we are.
There we are. Yeah. That's right.
You all are doing it, and doing it
I'm
well.
so happy for you.
I am I am really excited to hear the continued of this journey. I'm proud of you guys because I
Absolutely.
know I've had the opportunity to speak to some degree with both of you, Nikki over Danika's shoulder, and David on our own. We talked, and I know the challenge this has been, but I also know the benefit. I can hear the benefits of the experience that you all are building, continuing to build together. And I appreciate you all allowing us to share this continued journey with this community today. We are anxious to see you all in the same spaces together. Dave, let me know if I need to take a week off, come out there and help you.
All right.
Pack stuff for real, because you know he's just moving stuff around and then Nikki, he ain't packing nothing. He's just moving stuff from one side of the house to the other. Yeah, I'm transferring on him what's really happening in my house.
Right.
Yeah, really, really excited and proud of you guys, and want you to know, and I think I can speak for this community that we support you. Please feel free to reach out in this journey, to share. Let us know when you all post stuff. Keep us nosy people involved so we know what's going on. And, yeah. And Agent Grateful, yeah, Sted and Bobby, they
are hard pressed, man.
They are my mentors. They are my mentors.
Stop
sending us housing videos.
Don't stop sending them. They are my mentors. They gonna have D move before I can figure out where I'm going. like David said, I just drag me along. I'm good. Hey, but please, everybody, please go to
It's a Wonderful Travel Life.
Right. And subscribe to their page, offer them some support, send them a little cash app, some coffee money, send them a little something so that they can, make sure they get that dog shipped over there.
The Minty Fund.
Yeah. And we are H&D Abroad. It's a lot of you all here right now. Take a second, hit the like button, give us a little love. Share this video with other people who are trying to make these decisions, who are in the midst of making some changes. It's not just about the move abroad for D&I. It's about the life changes and the life growth. Mm-hmm. And whether you are 25 or 75, these things can come up as a part of your life experience. We want to share this journey and this community with each of you. We are so happy that all of you have joined us in the chat today. If you are joining us from the future,
hello from the future.
Hit that replay gang. Please, you all drop off in the comments. Let us know you came by. Talk to us. Ask questions.
We answer.
We answer. Nikki and David can pop back in and answer questions if you have them for them, or you can ask them directly on their page. We wish you all a beautiful continue to the rest of your Saturday. And to all those out there, it's good to see you. 2 fingers like a player.
Have a good rest of the afternoon, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.